it's time for Movie Friends with your hosts Michelle and Seth. We're talking film without pretension. We're finding cats that are unexpected. We'll watch a movie, film, or schmovie, and we want you to join our journey. So subscribe and share this podcast, or this might just be the last of the Movie Friends. We're movie friends. We want to be your movie friends.
Hey, welcome to New Release Review, part of the Movie Friends podcast. My name is Seth. Today we're talking about Nosferatu from 2024, directed by Robert Eggers. We will be discussing spoilers throughout this entire episode, so if you have not seen Nosferatu, or like the 10 other versions of it, please don't listen to this. Go watch the movie and then come back and listen. Today, I am joined by returning guest, Daniel Shomber. Daniel, how are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me back.
Yeah, very exciting. We were just saying before we started, Daniel, you signed up to do this like almost immediately after we did the Planet of the Apes episode, which was like in the summer.
Yeah, very anticipated.
Yeah, this is like the longest I've ever had someone on the docket. But I don't blame you, because I've been anticipating this movie since The Witch came out.
Yeah. I was hoping that you were gonna bring that up. That was announced all the way back then.
Yep. Yeah. We went to see The Witch just based on the trailer. The trailer looked so great, and my wife and my brother, we went and saw it. We were just absolutely blown away. Immediately, like, looking up people's responses online and everything we could about who this Robert Eggers guy is. And it was like all the way back then, which I think that was like 2015.
Yeah, somewhere around then. That sounds about right.
Long time.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, and as his next movie, he wants to do Nosferatu. And we were like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
This is going to be the best movie ever. And now here we are.
Yeah, it was my exact same experience, almost word for word. Because The Witch, I saw that immediately, like you said, blown away. It felt like a horror movie that I had been waiting a long time to see, and I didn't even realize it. So I was immediately on board with whatever this Eggers guy was gonna do next.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then the Nosferatu announcement, I know, it was a great time, I'd say.
So I won't ask you to start off the episode by giving your Robert Eggers rating, but I don't know, maybe I will start off.
Well, that's your show.
I think I just settled on The Witch number 1, The Lighthouse number 2, Nosferatu number 3, and then
the Northman.
Yeah, the Northman number 4. Yes, which all of them, I think they're all, great to good.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I love all 4 of them. I haven't been disappointed or let down at all any of his movies yet. Like, I don't want to sound like I'm blowing smoke or sounding,
sure,
like a basic film guy. But,
sure.
But
I know it's terrible to love movies, right? And
yes.
be excited for someone who appears to be good at making them, right?
I know. What a horrible thing to try to do.
Yeah, I walked in the other day. My wife and oldest kid were watching Barbie again, and there was the opening sequence. Movie. Yeah, that's doing the 2001 opening.
Yeah,
and I was just like, this is such a good movie. Gerwig is like such a good director. She's someone who I consider to also be like, each movie that she's put out, they're all good.
I agree.
But it's like if you just say like, oh, I love this person and this, it's like we have to allow time to pass before you can say that someone is good. It's so stupid.
Yeah. Do you remember when like you couldn't really say you liked M. Night Shyamalan?
Sure.
Yeah,
Oh, look, I'm old, man. I've been through every wave of Shyamalan. Like.
yeah. See, I wasn't around for Sixth Sense, but I was around for Signs,
Mm-hmm.
Onward.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Oh yeah,
I've the ups and downs.
I remember. I think it was maybe Newsweek, but the magazine that put him on the
Uh,
cover saying the next
Next
Spielberg.
Spielberg.
You know.
How you gonna live with that weight
I don't know.
after being declared that?
Yeah, but anyway, so
Yeah,
Eggers,
so
he's on
tangent there.
he's on a good streak. I really enjoyed Nosferatu. There's a few things that I was really shocked by. The mustache definitely.
Yeah, I knew as soon as I saw the mustache that was gonna dominate so much of the conversation about the film.
My wife turned to me and she was like, "Is that a mustache?" I was like, "I don't know. I guess so."
Did she notice that like in the first scene with him?
Yeah, like right towards the
Yeah,
beginning. Yeah.
yeah, when he's
Uh-huh.
by the fireplace. That's where I
Mm-hmm.
clocked it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that kind of made me weirdly happy in a way because have you read the book Bram Stoker? Or obviously, again, you got to say here, Nosferatu and Dracula aren't technically the same thing, but they kind of
Yeah.
are.
It's funny because Nosferatu is like the Kirkland brand Dracula, and so it's funny that one has been the
Yeah,
one that's been remade a few times. I mean, obviously there's a
yeah,
lot of Draculas, but
yeah,
uh, but yes, yeah. I have read maybe half of Dracula.
yeah.
Yeah.
See, I read that in high school. I haven't reread it since, but I remember it making a big impression on me because
Mm.
I'd already seen the Coppola version and
Mm-hmm.
Bela Lugosi. That's probably the first one, the Todd Browning movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, in the book, it talks about him at least his first appearance. He's got it talks about him having a drooping mustache. There's
Mm.
always been such a little funny little detail in the book that I've always thought about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so seeing
Yeah.
that is just I don't know if that's specifically. I think Eggers said in an interview that he's just basing it off of research and because
Sure.
he's
Sure.
a research nut.
Right. Right.
That all these kind of Slavic lords back
Right.
then, Romanian counts and stuff that they'd have, like it was just like kind of just a part of the job, kind of. Then, so yeah, but I love that's just a roundabout way of saying I love the mustache, even though I knew immediately when I saw it that so many people that's all they were going to talk about.
Yeah, and I don't mean to harp on it now. I
Oh
just
no, I didn't think you were.
it was just it was kind of like, oh, like
Yeah,
the gif of the she's like a young blonde woman and she goes like, oh,
yeah,
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 that's kind of what it was like. It was like,
yeah,
oh, okay,
yeah.
well, I guess we're doing this mustache thing, but overall, I thought that his design was so overwhelming and like
Yeah.
so scary. I don't love to really learn too much about a film before I watch it for the first time.
Yeah.
And so I try to stay away from trailers and red carpet stuff
See,
and
I'll
quotes
try to
from the
stay away from
director.
I'll try to stay away from trailers. Like I was staying away from the Mission Impossible trailer
Sure,
since I
sure.
knew I was already gonna go see it. But
Right.
then, I guess, you go to movies, you're inevitably gonna see some trailers.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh
I'm not
yeah.
gonna cover my eyes or do anything
I,
like that.
I
I've had a friend who did that before.
yeah.
Back when Rogue One came out, he didn't want to see it, so he just
Yep.
covered his
I've
his eyes
only
like
done
that.
that one time, and it was for
Ooh.
Lawn Legs
Oh,
because
okay.
I was so anticipating Lawn Legs,
Okay.
and I was in the theater mostly by myself. I was all the way in the back. There were a few people in the front, and I'm not ashamed to admit this. It is so stupid, but I literally put my head in my lap and was like, I covered my ears and I was kind of humming to myself. I was like, because the auditorium was so large that I couldn't exit. I've done that though. I have left if I didn't want to see. If I didn't want to see a trailer, yeah,
I don't know. I guess
I'm a little too sick.
I guess I'm a little lazy, to commit to all that.
Yeah,
I'll do enough to where I won't search it out, but if it's gonna play, oh well.
So the one thing that I did hear prior to watching it was Eggers saying that he wanted to make vampires scary again.
Yeah.
And so that I knew that going in, and I did feel like, Orlok in this is very imposing. His size, obviously the sound of his voice, and so unfortunately there's been discussion about like whether or not the relationship between him and Ellen is good, and it's like, of course it's not good. He's a monster. He's a demon who, reaches out to her.
At no point does it feel reciprocated.
No. Like she is reaching out into the darkness, right? She's praying and asking for like an angel to be sent to her. And somehow, psychic vampire stuff, I don't know.
I love his powers in this. I love. It's kind of
Mm-hmm.
on the level with the Coppola version, where I love all the different. The Coppola one, he has more just batshit, insane stuff, like turn into a werewolf. But I love.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if we were going there because there are the dogs.
Yeah, well, I like in the trailers and everything where you see that kind of the silhouette shot of Count Orlok and the dogs in the doorway. I remember talking about with my dad, this big horror person, as well as I loves Dracula, Salem's Lot, all those vampire, like old school, in a sense, vampire stories. But yeah, I remember thinking, like we were talking about, it's like there's gonna be like his brides or something. I was wondering if the brides were gonna come in at any point.
Yeah. But yeah, he's horrible. Like he is domineering. He's dominating everyone around him. I don't think there's any question that he's a monster and he's scary. And I didn't take him and Ellen's interactions to be romantic.
No.
I took them to be possessive, and I don't know why that's
I don't know why
hard for people to differentiate between.
I always get surprised by what becomes an issue of recent releases. So I don't know. It's also like the weird thing some people have where they don't want to see any sort of like gross relationship portrayed on screen. Like everything's got to be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, talk about age gap discourse. Like, how old is Orlok? Right? He's got to be quite old, right?
He's got maggots just like hanging out on his body. So yeah,
dude,
imagine so.
When she like touched him at the end.
Oh yeah, it makes a little sound effect too, doesn't it? Like that's got me every time.
He was a squishy guy for sure. Speaking before I move on from Orlok, the other thing that was quite shocking. It might be the most shocking penis reveal.
Since Wild Things
in film. It's crazy. So Nicholas Hoult goes in and he just kind of rises up, and you're like, wow.
You see that vampire ween?
It's there. So how did you take that?
Well, I was shocked, definitely. I think I let out a little laugh afterwards. Like I couldn't help it, but I was like, yeah, I see Nosferatu's dick. Pretty great.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you call it great, but
right.
It's like when that Batman comic came out. You remember that, like, had like Batman's wiener in it, and they had to.
Oh, I don't remember.
You don't remember this?
No.
Oh, I remember it was like on like late night shows and stuff. People talking about it, where DC had released like this new kind of label for like kind of like more adult oriented
Mm.
storylines. And the first one was a Batman one, and that was a collector's item where it's Batman's uncensored dog
Wow.
hanging. It's like, I don't know, it's like $500, maybe probably a lot more.
Oh
But
my
it's
god.
like, yeah, because they immediately backtracked on where it's
Right.
supposed to be this adult oriented thing, but then there started to be jokes on late night shows, and then they just like took it off shelves and like
Wow.
redistributed it with it
And
censored.
and here's another Batman. Yeah,
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 yeah. I'm glad you
absolutely.
made that
Yeah.
connection.
So yeah, Bill Skarsgård. I'm gonna be honest. When he was announced as Count Orlok, I don't want to say I was disappointed, but I was like, okay,
It feel
you
like a safe
know,
choice, kind
yeah,
of.
because this is the guy who plays these like transformative monsters, and
Yeah.
I wasn't. I think going into it, the thing that I was excited the least about this movie was the cast.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, I mean, because
Interesting.
originally it was like Harry Styles
Oh, well,
was
yeah. Yeah, I
Harry
remember
Styles
him.
was supposed to be playing Thomas.
Yeah.
Anya Taylor-Joy was going to be playing Ellen. Not that I don't
Yes.
like Anya, I think she's great, but it was just kind of like it, everything that was announced. It was like, okay, nothing's really exciting here about the casting. Like you kind of know what you're going to get.
The Defoe casting didn't excite you?
Well, again, it's like he's worked with Eggers before a few
Yeah.
times, and so it all just felt like very very safe casting. And so
Yeah.
when Skarsgård was announced, I was like, all right, let's kind of see. But I was also just imagining in my head, the Murnau version and
Yeah.
Herzog. Herzog really stuck really close to the
Yeah.
original design, and I think pulled it off quite well.
Oh yeah,
Like,
I agree.
yeah,
I love the Herzog version.
oh yeah.
I don't know if we're gonna be ranking Nosferatu's later, but
Yeah. I mean, well, Herzog's use of rats is
yeah.
unreal in that movie.
See, I always think about the bat like flying through the air and with
Mm-hmm.
the music playing behind it.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
That
it's so
it's
good.
is a great film.
Yeah. So I was just kind of like, okay, I'm imagining Skarsgård as that, same look for Orlok, and seeing what they did with it, I was like, oh, this is so good. And I don't know how you felt, but I could not find Bill Skarsgård
No, not
in
at
there,
all.
and I was looking and I was listening. I was like, he's gonna give it up, like his accent will slip or something.
Uh,
He'll look like him, and I
that's
couldn't see him.
like you can't see his like facial
Mm-mm.
structure or anything in there. Like I the third time watching it, I
Mm-hmm.
will say, so not first two times. There's a shot when he's talking to Ellen, well, like I think it's maybe he's thrown her on the bed and he's told her that she has 3 nights or whatever. It's kind
Mm-hmm.
of, I guess, kind of given, kind of like a Kubrick, not really a Kubrick
Mm.
stare, but like one of those like narrow
Sure.
looks where you see
Sure.
his brows more.
Yeah.
That is like maybe the only time I could see
Mm.
a little bit of him in there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was blown away. I was already pretty excited because I knew that uh, Skarsgård was supposed to be in the Northman
Mm-hmm.
along with his brother. Then he had to do something else, like
Mm-hmm.
some scheduling issues occurred. Then so I figured that since he was gonna reteam with him, that Eggers that kind of like he knew. I'm not gonna say like he owed him one,
Sure.
but like, but I was just excited to see the pairing
Yeah.
after it didn't come to fruition the first
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. I think he absolutely knocked it out of the park. Like, no questions about it. And along with the makeup and the costuming, it all came together
Yeah,
to make something I think really really special.
I
And
agree. Did you like his hat in the first scene?
yeah, oh, I was very into that. Oh yeah,
That's
absolutely.
the whole thing.
Yeah, and like what I liked about this is how they really played up that Orlok is scary and that he ruins everything. Like, in the Herzog one, the one thing that I kind of, I'll just say I laugh at, like, because it's so far fetched, is when he first goes to his place and they're sitting there eating, and
Yeah.
you're sitting there with this guy and you're like, this is not a normal guy. And
Yeah.
it's Klaus Kinski just being so creepy. I mean,
Oh,
if
it's
you
terrifying.
even if you were alone in a house with just Klaus Kinski, I think that you
It'd
would
be
know that something is
horrifying.
up, right?
Yeah.
And so this
You're
time
not
around,
safe.
yeah, like as soon as Thomas gets to the house and as soon as he sits down, Orlok is not like, he's talking to
Yeah.
him from one side and then appearing on the other. Like,
Wow,
it is
that was
scary.
I loved that. And I
Yeah.
loved when, he cuts himself, cutting the
Mm-hmm.
bread. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
the first time you get like a real close up of Orlok too. When
Mm-hmm.
that happens, you see a close up of his eyes. Like everything
Mm-hmm.
has been kind of at a distance,
Mm-hmm.
camera wise, from him. So he gets. He's like, oh, you need to come sit by the fire, and then like as soon as he like turns his head, he's like already at the fireplace,
Mm-hmm.
and like the
Mm-hmm.
statue head kind of turns to look at him,
Mm-hmm.
which is a cool detail.
Yep.
I
Yep.
like, but yeah, I love all of his powers. I love, his hand reaching out because I remember that was the shot in the
Sure. Oh yeah.
trailer
Yeah.
was like the
Mm-hmm.
shadow kind of
Yep.
stretching out across the city. So seeing him kind of, I don't know, made me think of Christopher Lee in Fellowship of the Ring for a weird reason.
Sure.
Like when
Yeah.
he's summons the clouds,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
everything. So yeah, it's the way his powers were
Yeah, and like he,
shown in film.
brings a plague, and
Oh yeah, you
it's
can't forget
just
about the plague and the
he poisons
rats.
everything, he ruins everything. It's great. I love it. I love that we're not pretending he's some guy. Like, this is a
Yeah,
monster, a living
I
like
think
demon
he says,
monster. Yeah.
but he's nothing but appetite.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a line
Mm-hmm.
in there.
Yeah,
This
and
is a good
then
description. He's
the
just there
other
to.
the other third incredibly shocking part is when he kills the kids.
Oh yeah,
And it's just like
yeah. I was
sickening.
wondering. I don't have. I mean, I have a nephew, so it was kind of rough. But I
Yeah.
having kids, so that's probably even rougher to
Sure.
watch.
Oh yeah.
I always think about that when
Yeah.
nowadays
Mm-hmm.
when I see some kids go to the graveyard
Oh
in
yeah,
the
yeah.
movie.
It's an odd thing. I don't know that it happens to everyone, but it did definitely happen to me, and I know that it's happened to other. I was just speaking with someone last week, and they were saying, like, ever since I had a kid, I can't do any horror. Like, it's just so different, and it really is. I don't even know that it's psychological. I think it's almost biological. Something
Yeah,
flips in your head, and suddenly you're like, oh, this isn't like entertaining anymore. This isn't
yeah,
interesting. Now it's just sickening.
yeah,
And so the way the scene is shot and how coarsely the bodies are treated,
yeah. He just throws them aside like a rag doll.
it's nuts. It is
Did,
gnarly.
did you think it was gonna happen when their introduction scene when they're like, "Oh, there's a monster"? Did you just think that was like a
No,
stupid
no,
joke?
no. No, no, I didn't. I was not. No, it came as a shock.
See,
Because I think like all right, how do I want to say this? Aaron Taylor Johnson is in this movie,
he is
and a lot of
Kraven.
people have been yeah. I wish he had been Kraven in this movie. Maybe Nosferatu, maybe he would have been taken care of earlier.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Kraven versus Nosferatu is something that
sure,
they definitely need to get on, like the comics or someone needs to get
absolutely.
on that.
I wonder if Kraven has ever hunted Morbius in the comics. That'd be a
I
good
wonder
hunt,
that as
right?
well. I feel like I'm gonna look this up afterwards. Now I'm really
um,
interested.
but yeah, a lot has been said about his performance in this,
Yeah,
and people keep saying like, "Oh, he seems so miscast. He sticks out like a sore thumb." But I didn't take it that way. He does stick out, but I think that like him and his home and his girls, they have no connection to Orlok. Like at this
Yeah.
point, Thomas and Ellen has had troubles like her whole life since connecting with him.
Yeah.
And so Thomas, he doesn't, it's like secondhand, but there's a cloud over their home and over their relationship, where Aaron Taylor Johnson, the Hardings, they're all happy and, like, whatever, we have 2 little blonde girls and we've got all this money. And so I almost feel like the performance, and I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm not trying to, give credit due where it might not be due, but it just almost feels like it's intentional. Like it feels like they're normal people. Why would they be walking around depressed? Why would Aaron Taylor Johnson at this point in the story be anything other than like what he is? And then once everything goes south, and his performance changes because his character's position changes, I think it like, quote unquote fits better, but I don't know. I didn't really have a problem with him.
I didn't really have any issues with him either. I heard the complaints for seeing it the first time, so I was kind of looking for whatever it was that people had an issue with. Like maybe I feel like maybe it's just like I don't know, like maybe him being Kraven
Yeah.
and some other roles.
Yeah. A week before, people are sitting in the theater seeing Kraven, and then they come into this and they're like, no. You're
Well,
not.
how did they
You're
feel?
not fooling me.
Did I see him in the 28 Years Later trailer and just immediately start shaking their head like I'm not seeing that one either?
Right.
I thought he was fine for most of it. I really liked his last few scenes. Maybe I just whenever I see someone yelling and spit coming out, I'm just immediately like, oh, okay, it's pretty not
Sure.
bad.
Yeah. Another part of the supporting cast that I haven't heard almost anyone talk about, and I was so excited when he showed up, Ralph Ineson as Dr. Wilhelm Sievers.
Yes.
I was like, yeah, he's back. Hooray. Love
But
this
he's
guy.
back way bigger than I was expecting. I wasn't expecting him to have such a prominent supporting part.
Part of the game.
Yeah. It's great when they're in the carriage at the end. I'm like, oh, it's that feeling when all they needed was a cowboy. They just needed
That's right.
They needed Glenn Powell or Boyd
Oh
Holbrook in like a 10-gallon hat just with a gun with them, and it would have been perfect. Like it's already a pretty great film, but I feel like that would have pushed it over the edge.
Right.
Just having Quincy in it, just give him another name.
That may have been too big of a pill. I mean, if people couldn't handle Aaron Taylor Johnson just being a happy guy, they might be like, what is this cowboy doing here? But yeah, he's good. And I was glad to see Innocent. He obviously he's got that great voice, right?
Yeah,
and I feel like a lot of times he's used as someone who's very grave. And I felt like here he was playing kind of a different type than we've seen before. And I was just so happy. Like I was just so happy to see him, and I thought he did great. Well, maybe disproportionately I was excited to see him, but yeah.
I'm right there with you. I love whenever he shows up in something. I feel like he's kind of fits that kind of Peter Cushing or Christopher Lee role in horror movies nowadays, where he's like in The First Omen and this. And, I'm sure he's in some other horror movies I'm forgetting right now. But
have you seen The Green Knight?
Oh, yeah, he's great in that. I love that movie.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, he's great whenever he shows up in anything. So I was really happy to see him give that kind of performance. And he probably has the funniest line read in the movie for me. After Renfield like bites off the pigeon's head, and he's like, good sir, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Isn't his Ralph Ineson voice?
Yeah, that was like genuinely really, really good.
Yeah, that and I
Really
just
funny.
any Renfield scene is already 10 times more interesting than any assortment of scenes from any given movie.
Yeah,
For me,
that
like I
was.
love Renfield just as a character.
Mhm.
He's usually my favorite part of adaptations, whether it's Dwight Fry or Tom Waits.
Mhm.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I thought that was kind of an interesting that he was there, that he assigned him, and then
yeah.
it was yeah.
I'm pretty sure he does that in the Herzog version as well, except he's a little bit more crazy at the beginning. Like he's already laughing, and it kind of goes back to that Herzog thing where you're just interacting with these guys who are clearly not okay.
Mhm.
Him and Orlok.
Yep. Also, little bigger role, but we already kind of mentioned him. Willem Dafoe,
Yes.
Professor Albin Eberhard von Franz.
Yeah. Van
Yeah,
Helsing.
yeah. How did you feel
That's just
about
how
him?
I know. That's just how I know these characters, is
Right.
just from their Dracula names. Yeah, Willem Dafoe might be my favorite actor working today. I
Hmm.
love him. Like he's for for a long time. Like before, I think before he was in. I don't know. It feels like he's kind of had like a resurgence
Sure.
a little bit in recent years. It feels like a lot of more interesting filmmakers have been using him than
Yes.
for like a period after like he was in Spider-Man,
Spider-Man. Yeah, I was just
something
gonna
like
say.
that.
Hmm.
That's what I was trying to say. Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel
Well,
like I kept walking
definitely,
into a minefield.
definitely hooking up with Wes Anderson. He got a
Yeah,
few really cool things, and then obviously Eggers,
yeah,
um,
Yorgos Lanthimos.
Lanthimos. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yep.
mean, he was in Del Toro's last movie. Like he hadn't really been in
Yep.
a Del Toro movie. Florida Project.
Oh
Which
God,
yeah,
he is
stuff. It feels like he's had a
so.
bit more of a resurgence after
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. He's amazing in the Florida Project.
Yeah,
Everyone in that movie is like too real. Like that's when I finished that movie, I was just like, I can't.
yeah,
Like it's so upsetting because it's all like just so real to people that I know in real
yeah,
life.
yeah.
And like Defoe in that movie, it's painful. It's painful to watch that performance, and he's so good in it. If you're
Yeah.
listening to this and you have not seen the Florida Project, you need to see it
I also,
immediately.
yes, I agree. I'd also say if you hadn't seen Last Temptation,
Yeah, he's
Martin
good.
Scorsese,
Yeah,
which
he's very good
I
in
feel
that.
like there's a higher chance you'll probably have seen that,
Hmm.
whoever's listening.
Yeah,
But yeah, I'd
yeah.
say best cinematic Jesus for me.
Ooh, interesting. Best
It's
cinematic
like,
Jesus.
well, it's like either him or the back of a dude's head in Ben-Hur. So,
Yeah. I love in the Coens Hail Caesar
oh yes,
when
I died when
when
they.
the screen goes black and it says divine presence to be filmed or whatever, filmed at a later date. Yeah, pretty great. But
Yeah,
yeah,
all the Ben Hur jokes in that movie got me pretty good, since
mhm.
that's like I'd say it's like a top 10 movie for me.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
I remember when I watched Ben-Hur, I was like, "Oh, this is a Jesus movie." I had no idea.
Yeah, it was the same way for me. First time I saw it when I was a kid, I just thought
Hmm.
it was like I guess I had missed the opening,
Hmm.
where it's like Balthazar and all
Yeah.
that. Saying Balthazar just makes me think of Jingle All the Way.
Of
But
course, of course.
speaking
Balthazar.
speaking of cinematic classics like Nosferatu and
Yep.
Ben-Hur, everything else we've mentioned, Florida Project.
Yep.
I'd say Jingle All the Way's up there with Florida Project.
I just did Jingle All the Way. I did a quick episode with my son. It was pretty funny seeing it through his eyes. But yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, Willem Dafoe, he's in this. He's doing his Willem Dafoe thing.
Yeah.
I wasn't like blown away by him. I didn't think that he did poorly.
Is it just what you've came to expect?
Yeah, like as far as his performance, it was just
Yeah.
like neutral. like, of course it's like thumbs up, but it was like,
Yeah.
it is what it is. And
Yeah.
what it is good because Willem Dafoe
That's
rules.
that's
I
kind of
just
how I
found,
felt. Sorry, go ahead.
I just found out that I'm taller than Willem Dafoe. Apparently,
Oh,
Willem Dafoe is 5'7", and
oh, okay.
I am not a tall person at all. And so I was
But
like shocked.
you're taller than Defoe, so
I
you have
have.
that going for you.
So I was like, if I walked into a room and Willem Dafoe was there, he would have to slightly tilt his eyes up to look at me.
There you go. You have the power now.
Well, we all know that taller people are better. The taller you are, the better you are as a person.
Yeah,
That's why Shaq gets all the endorsements.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'd say that put the guy from Alien Romulus that was in
Oh, yes.
practical suit. He'd put it at the very top.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, think Andre the Giant, like,
Well, yeah,
he's
who
the
doesn't
greatest
love
person
Andre?
who ever lived. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
absolutely.
wonderful.
Nicholas Hoult as Thomas
Oh yeah,
Hutter. Now, this was something that I was surprised by. I'm not down on Nicholas Hoult at all. I think he's great.
yeah,
He, very capable, cool dude for all intents and purposes.
yeah.
And
Seems like a nice guy.
yeah, but in this, I was just like, he's acting. It's going well. He's scared. I loved everything in him as soon as he's
Yeah,
there and he's scared.
that scene doesn't work as well as it does if it wasn't for him and
Mm-hmm.
his reactions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I agree. I think he's fairly underrated. Feel like sometimes maybe like he was pretty miscast as Beast in those X-Men movies. I didn't think he was bad per se, but no. He also did the thing where he's like the
Well,
Hulk, where he just can kind of turn into to Beast.
yeah,
That
I
was
mean,
weird.
not to talk about comic book movies, but
I brought it there.
was anyone properly cast in those movies? That's all that I'll say.
Yeah.
You know?
I was just say Professor X, Magneto. Those.
Yeah,
I feel like those are
McAvoy's
pretty.
great. He was
Yeah.
good. Holt, hey, Holt's bald now for Lex Luthor. Maybe Holt
That's
could have
true.
been Professor X,
What could have been? What could have been where we could have had him as Professor X and Bald McAvoy as Luthor?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh, can you imagine James McAvoy as Lex Luthor? Come on.
That'd be pretty good.
That would actually be really cool.
Yeah. You heard it here first.
Yeah. I don't even care. Let him do his original accent too,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever he wants. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Holt is great in this. And I don't know, I just believed everything, like his relationship with Ellen, him being terrified. I don't know about him out chasing, some demon hounds towards the end.
Yeah.
Towards the end of his stay at the castle, but
those
whatever.
hounds weren't as on it as I would have thought.
Right.
I mean, it felt like they let the sun come up for a little while longer than they should before they chase after him.
Yep. So then, last but not least, certainly not least, I think, the lead of the movie, for sure, Lily Rose Depp.
Yes.
As Ellen Hutter. How did you feel about her?
I thought she was fantastic in the movie. I was one of those people that was initially disappointed that it wasn't going to be Anya Taylor-Joy. Who think that was something like, even after you're talking about how early just the movie itself was announced, it felt like she was attached to it.
Sure.
For almost not as equal amount of time, but maybe a little less. So I was a little disappointed. I'd only ever seen her in do you remember The King? The Netflix.
Timothy Chalamet?
Yeah.
Yes. I remember sleeping through The King a few times. And
I remember I watched it just because he was going to be Paul Atreides. So I was like, all right. Because I just finished the book. And I was like, all right, let me see if Muad'Dib is in there.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I had to watch it like 3 times because I just kept falling asleep, and like I can't fall asleep for 30 minutes and then be like, oh, I'm sure nothing important happened. Like I have to go back and restart it. And so that That was an odd
It's an interesting movie.
flick. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
she has that scene, just like one scene at the very end of that, and I thought she was fine in it, and that didn't really leave any kind of impression. Then I hate watched the first episode of The Idol because
yeah, I couldn't even bring myself to do that.
I didn't think I'd be able to do it, but I just kept reading just such outrageous things of what people were saying. I just felt like I had to. So, but it was awful, god awful.
Yeah,
like it was bad to the point where even like I couldn't really look at Hank Azaria the same for like 2 weeks. Afterwards.
I've
But it's like
heard people say that it's like a secret work of genius, but you know what?
I don't know about that.
I don't need to see every secret work of genius. Let it be a secret.
Idol should remain a secret.
Yeah.
But like I mentioned Hank Azaria because it felt like it was just like all the performers in that to some extent, where it's like I just hated the show, that one episode so much, where like I just wouldn't get excited if I saw any of the people that were in it attached to something. So that, yeah, I'm glad that she proved me and definitely a lot of other people wrong with how good she was.
Yeah.
She is great. Like it, I have a hard time picking between her and Skarsgård for my favorite performance overall.
Yeah, because they're so different. It's so different. You know.
Yeah.
One is again like the dominating demon spirit, and the other is the person who's possessed. And my introduction to her and like pretty much only real experience with her other than The King was Yoga Hosers.
Oh God, I haven't brought myself to watch that yet.
Yeah, like I absolutely love Tusk. I actually think Tusk is Kevin Smith's best movie that he's ever made.
All right. I like it.
She got a bit part in that, but the character that she plays in that is one of the two main characters of Yoga Hosers, and that is one of the worst movies that he's made. And so going into her being cast in this, I was like, oh, okay. Like, you know, obviously, you know, she's a professional actor and Eggers is a great director. So, you know, who am I to sit around and wring my hands about whether it will work out?
I know. I feel like as soon, maybe not as soon, but not long after she was cast, like I kind of figures like, okay, she's gonna be bringing some serious heat to the movie.
Yeah, and she does. I mean, you know, all the physicality of her performance. Is obviously that's maybe like the most exciting part of it. Yeah, and it is awesome. Like it's very good. But
always impressive.
Yeah, I was just I don't know, very taken with her own fear and like as his kind of North Star, you know, to this like new land that he's like coming for her. I believed her as like this like prophet of doom, and you know, like she can't fully articulate to everyone like what is happening, but she knows, you know, like when she's just saying like he's coming it's awesome. And like I think my favorite there's two shots that she's in that are my favorite. One is towards the very, very beginning after she prays and like he kind of comes to her. She's walking out of a building towards the camera.
Oh, is it at the very beginning when she walks out of the what do you call it, a manor?
Yes. And they recreate not just the look of a silent film, but like the cadence with which people walk and move in a silent film. And it's very brief.
Okay.
But my jaw just like dropped and I was like, oh my God, Are they
Okay,
going to
that's
do
pretty
this
awesome.
throughout the whole movie? And they didn't do it throughout the whole movie, which was a big bummer. But I loved that. And then my second favorite is when they're at the beach. She's at the beach with the couple, and she becomes possessed, and she's shaking, and it's like his ship is on the ocean, like coming at not the ocean, the sea, wherever. I'm not a geography dude, but the ship is coming, and she is like shaking, and like, not to be crass, but it is in the film, and her legs are like open to the water, and like the water, the tide is just like coming in and out. And I was like, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. Like, this is so like just evil, like, and again, like, because I'm not thinking, oh, this is some type of romantic, sultry relationship. It's like,
not
oh my
Gary
God.
Oldman.
No. And yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up, because when we were talking about Coppola's version earlier, Coppola's version shows Dracula in a sympathetic light, right? Because they show that like he's
very
cursed,
tragic.
and it's all very tragic, and I've crossed oceans of time to find you, right? Right.
I do love that line.
Everyone loves that line, and people probably like put that on their wedding bands, right? Because I think in that movie,
it's not a bad idea.
There's some confusion about the
since
whole thing.
I feel like since it has Bram Stoker's name over it, over the title, it kind of will make you think that that's how he typically is, which is very much not the case. I know in the Herzog version, he's not as sympathetic, but I feel like definitely for some scenes in that movie, like you kind of feel of a loneliness of Klaus Kinski,
right.
And so you kind of you start feeling for him a little bit, in that maybe not as much as
No,
Coppola.
I mean, Kinski is like near pathetic, right, in that movie. Yeah. Not in this. Skarsgård he's not pathetic. He's scary,
menacing.
He's evil. Yeah, it's
mustached.
Yeah, and
mustache
again, like
twirling,
like a monster, and like I think it's Dafoe who says, like he's a walking corpse. And so he's closer to what we would think of as like a zombie and the undead, rather than what we think of as like a vampire undead. Because vampires are cool, right? They always have like slick back hair. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they dress really nice. Where like he does dress nice, but it's like rotting and ugh.
Did you think about how hot it must have been?
Oh, no way. Yeah.
All that fur.
So yeah, Lily Rose Depp, I think, really, she did great. She's probably, like you said, I think I would tie her and Skarsgård for best performance in the movie.
Yeah, the movie works as well as it does because of those two specific performances.
Yep. Yeah. And I hate when people take like a snippet of her performance or like a screenshot and like try to make it into a joke, and it's like, okay, fine, yes, maybe one frame with her tongue hanging out is like silly looking, but when you're sitting there watching it's horrifying.
Yeah, I agree. The people will take, talk about, say, like she has iPhone face, stuff like that, just silly nonsense. Are we gonna talk about Renfield, not Renfield?
Oh yeah. He also was doing.
I was gonna say, I think he's pretty good in that. Simon McBurney.
Yeah.
I always, when I see him, I always think that he was one of the bad guys in Rogue Nation. I know. Yeah. I know. I know you're not big on that, on the last Mission Impossible, but I don't know how you feel about the ones previous.
I love the first Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun with the second one.
Okay.
Very silly. Very very stupid.
Yeah, it's kind of like his Roger Moore era. It's very, very silly.
Yeah, but like, climbing up rocks is cool. A little safe in a bathtub is cool. You know, that whole thing.
Yeah. Limp Bizkit.
Sure. Well, I don't know.
At that
I won't
point.
go. I won't go that far, but yeah. To me, like a lot of the after 4, a lot of them just kind of run together, and I think that's like my biggest problem with it now. And like, I know, you know, Cruise and McQuarrie have said they're like, we come up with this big stunt and then figure out how to put it into the movie. And I think that that's a not great way of making a movie. You should write a movie and then, yeah.
It kind of bit them in the ass though this last time because it kind of felt like most of the marketing was around him driving the motorcycle.
Oh, dude.
And it might be a hot take, but I don't even think it was better than Spy Who Loved Me, because that's obviously what it's riffing on. It's Bond going over the mountain, and then the parachute opening up. At least that's what I thought when the shot happened, when it kind of stayed on Cruise for a second. I was like, oh, they're trying to do the Spy Who Loved Me deal.
And you know what? That was a great stunt. Obviously, like I'm not gonna sit here, you know, as a overweight 36-year-old dude and be like, yeah, that was fine. You know, incredible stunt.
Oh yeah,
an insane amount of work and preparation and training that went into that stunt. And you know what? I would have liked to seen that stunt for the first time in the movie.
Yeah, not in every trailer
and not
beforehand.
Yeah, like putting out a mini documentary about the stunt before you've even seen it.
Yeah,
show all that stuff after. Like, you know, unfortunately, that's what used to go on Blu-ray and DVD extras, and now those things just don't exist anymore.
And God, it's hard. I don't want to start crying on your podcast about Nosferatu.
Yes. So we come to the end, and you know the dude's plan have been thwarted. They're not successful in killing Count Orlok.
Yeah, Renfield's taking his place. Not Renfield, I should say. The hair knock.
Knock, yeah.
Knock. But then sometimes I say it like knock. Did you notice that?
No.
That's something I know. It's at least that's what it sounded like to me. Is like they were adding a K at the beginning of it. I don't know. I might just be going crazy. But I love hair knock, as I do most every Renfield.
Yeah.
In cinema. I love his lines. I should have been the Prince of Rats.
The Prince of Rats.
I loved that line. I also just liked what they did with Renfield character, because usually he just stays crazy and pathetic, and then Dracula kills him. And then so I kind of liked seeing something a little different for Renfield this time around.
Right.
Yeah, I love his, that first scene with him and Ralph Ineson in the guard. He's eating it raw like.
Yes.
One of the best line readings. Yeah, I love seeing Dafoe stake him, because I feel like everyone wanted to see Dafoe stake someone. I mean, you don't hire Willem Dafoe. It's like hiring Anthony Hopkins back in the days. Like, you want to see him get blood squirted on him, and him stake some vampires, and all that.
So they pull this like switcheroo, and I noticed, Holt has a limp, as they're on their way to kill Count Orlok. Yeah. And then when it's like, oh my gosh, Count Orlok is at my house with my wife, suddenly no more limp. Now he's like running full tilt.
I didn't notice that. You got keener eyes than I.
Yeah, and then so Orlok comes to her, and it's disgusting. It's like, oh my God, it's so.
It looks like it smells.
Oh God, it's horrifying and uncomfortable. And she gets him though. Like she's the one who gets him.
Yeah, he does the thing where he kind of looks at the sun, and then she's like, "No, like come," makes him forget about that because of his, his addiction, his bloodlust.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's insane. Like, you think, wouldn't Orlok be smart enough to not let this happen? But
Yeah.
then it's like, okay, this dude has like uprooted his entire life to get to like this moment and to get to her. His line, oh, it's so creepy when he says, "You were not made for the living."
Yeah.
Oh
Yes.
God.
He's got a lot of great lines in
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
It's just like something like Thunder on Barbarous Winds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's got a lot of hit him, and there's no shortage of great dialogue, great lines in this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that you see someone get, wearing a at a Slipknot show,
Sure.
stuff like that. Get tattooed.
Yeah. So she sees him kind of maybe considering like, okay, I gotta dip here. And what does she say more?
Yes, I think that's what she.
Yeah. Because
Yeah,
he's drinking from her. He's
yeah,
drinking from her in that moment, and she's like, more, and so he does, and that's it.
yeah. He has that line where he says, I think we mentioned that earlier, like that. I'm all an appetite,
Mm-hmm.
just an appetite, something to that regard. The it's just setting that up. All he's really gonna care about is getting her blood, and it's
Mm-hmm.
gonna lead to his own undoing.
Yep. Yeah. So then we get the picture of the two of them, and now she dies.
Yeah, she's
Yeah. She's
definitely
dead.
dead.
Yeah, she's definitely
Yeah,
dead. Yeah. So we get the final shot to the two of them. They're dead. But it's just worth noting that Ellen is the one who gets him.
yeah,
No one else was able to get him. And yeah.
yeah. What did you think about that change where her and not Van Helsing
Mm-hmm.
have make this thing where it's like we'll have this kind of distraction hunt
Mm-hmm.
to get you alone for this to happen, as her
Um.
being like having it be more of a, because I think in the original and then the Herzog version it's all her,
Mm-hmm.
isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was fine. I thought everything here worked, and like, I know. Eggers said that he didn't watch the Herzog version,
Yeah,
and that he
which
had.
is kind of strange to me because it feels like at least this last time felt like some scenes definitely felt
Hmm.
very Herzog
Hmm.
indebted.
Interesting. Yeah, it's like he says that he didn't watch it. How can we ever really,
Yeah, really be
like,
sure.
yeah, he staged a stage play of this like
Yeah.
way many years ago where he played Orlok himself.
Oh, okay. I didn't know he played Orlok.
Yeah. And
Okay.
so clearly this is a story that he has thought about for
Yeah.
many
Yeah.
years, and like the
Yeah. His
motivations of
whole
the characters, and
artistic life.
yeah. So um I think taking this on its own, like you mentioned earlier about ranking them, like how can you possibly compare
Yeah.
the first one and this one? Like it's just
Yeah.
massively different,
Yeah.
um
But do you rank them with like all the Draculas though? Like that's what I'm kind of confused about. Is like do you just say it's its own thing even
right.
though it's clearly Dracula?
Right, yeah. I mean, it's close enough, like
Yeah.
it, okay, so if you would put um the Bela Lugosi Dracula,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
if you would put the Coppola Dracula, would you,
Yeah.
like, if you could you ever compare those two movies?
Nah.
Because those are
That'd be
incredibly
pretty
different
hard.
stories.
Yeah.
Like,
Feel like the safest thing to compare would be the Bela Lugosi one with Christopher Lee, like the Hammer
sure, yeah,
one.
the Hammer horror, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did not like, I didn't rewatch Nosferatu.
Yeah.
I did not. I had recently rewatched Herzog's just because we love
Yeah.
that one and we
Yeah.
watched it.
Great.
But I wasn't
great.
like, oh, I want to steep myself in all these different Dracula versions, because I was like, I'm just going to take this like as it is, as its own thing.
I tried to do that over Halloween until I realized just how many Draculas I'd have to watch.
Oh, yeah.
No. Yeah, I didn't even get the original one and the Murnau one. And yeah, I meant to, but then just complete failure. Only watched the Herzog.
Yeah, I think that's okay. I think yeah. I mean, definitely, I think that's one that everybody should see if you're interested in film history. Obviously, you should watch it at some point. It's not my favorite by far. It's not my favorite, but yeah.
Just don't be intimidated by a silent movie.
No, never.
I say that, and you got the Passion of Joan of Arc behind you.
Oh yeah. These are the three most important women in film history. I've got Passion of Joan of Arc. I have Princess Mononoke.
Yeah.
And I've got Jean Dielman behind me.
Oh, okay. I love it.
It wasn't on purpose, but as I was putting them up, I was like, oh yeah, okay, yeah. There's a through line here.
It'd be a great binge watch.
Yeah.
Just make a day of all three.
So, did you have any other thoughts or scenes that you wanted to talk about that we didn't mention?
Definitely want to say, I loved the final shot of Orlok kind of withered away on top of her body. It was like Willem Dafoe's like leaving like flower petals beside her. I thought he was leaving garlic at first. It was like, okay, that kind of would. It kind of makes sense because I remember that being a thing in the book where I'm surprised they didn't add the detail in the Coppola version, since it has so much from the book in that, where after Lucy gets turns into a vampire and they decapitate her, they had to put garlic in her mouth afterwards. That was always a interesting detail. Yeah, I was surprised. I'd say I was surprised Emma Corrin didn't kind of do what her counterpart in Dracula always seems to do, which is come back as a vampire and be like the evidence, really, that of what they're dealing with. Yeah, but yeah. Other than that, I loved all the performances. I love the cinematography. Do you know how his Eggers cinematographer? You know how to say his name, because I don't want to attempt.
No.
Okay, but I didn't want to attempt it. I didn't want to completely fail. But cinematography was great. Production design, everything was great about it to me. I've seen it 3 times, so if I didn't love it, it'd be pretty bad.
Right. What would be your Eggers ranking?
Witch, definitely number 1 still. I'm torn if I want to keep Lighthouse at 2. I don't know. I feel like right now I'm going to go Nosferatu at 2, and then barely right behind it be The Lighthouse. And I love The Northman, but it's 4.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong. Like I said, they're all great to good.
All great.
Like, there's nothing, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a great movie. I think will be a Halloween classic for years to come around October. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of weird. I try to start in August, September if I can. So on the horror movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just do them all year round.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a great way to do it. I don't know. I just like to be eccentric and try to just devote just all of my time to one genre and one part of the year. I don't know. It doesn't usually work out, but
yeah, I'm too scatterbrained to do that. I can't. I can't do it.
I mean, it barely ever works for me because it'll be time to watch a horror movie, but it's like, well, I kind of want to watch this right now.
That's the best thing. There are too many movies, and so you have to just watch what you want. That's yeah. All right, cool. Hey, Daniel, where can people find you online?
I am on Twitter. If you use the called X, at D Shomber, capital D S. Then I'm also on Letterboxd. It's at, I think it's the same, at D Shomber. I could be wrong now. But yeah, those are the two places that you can find me. I'm not really anywhere else. I don't mean to make that sound sad in any way.
Yes, definitely give him a follow. Daniel's one of the few level-headed, normal people left talking about movies on the internet.
Oh, it's a heck of a title.
Yes, yeah, that's right. Hey, we'd love it if you'd give us a rating and a review wherever you're listening. It really helps the show. Also, please send us an email. Let us know what you thought about Nosferatu. Let us know what you thought about Eggers, Lily Rose Depp, Nicholas Hoult. Really, anything. Do you watch horror movies only in October? Let us know. moviefriendspodcast@gmail.com. You can also support the show, patreon.com/moviefriendspodcast. $5 a month gets you access to all of our additional episodes, our Patreon-only Discord, our, Patreon-only Discord, voting rights to vote on upcoming movies and monthly themes, and you get access to our new, I was going to say new and improved, but it hasn't improved because it's just new, our new secret decoder ring club. So yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Ooh.
Orphan
Yeah.
Annie? like the little Orphan Annie decoder ring?
That is exactly what it is. Yep.
Oh, excellent.
Yep. So yeah, patreon.com/moviefriendspodcast. And yeah, that's it. Daniel, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. I love being on.
Yeah. Till next time. Who knows what that will be? You know, maybe it'll be another movie coming out in 6 months. We never know.
You never know.
Yeah. Thank you very much for listening. Till next time. Have a good one.
Movie Friends is produced by Seth Vargas and Michelle Rubenstein. Theme music by Jean Marie Vargas. Visit us at our website, moviefriendspodcast.com, and please subscribe and rate our show wherever you are listening. You can support Movie Friends at patreon.com/moviefriendspodcast. Thanks for listening.